Hi, everybody. It's author Tonya Duncan Ellis of the Sophie Washington book series with another episode of Write This, my author interview show. And love is in the air this week as I'm having on a young adult romance author, Ronni Davis, to talk about her work and what it's like to write romance. So that's going to be really interesting to me as a middle grade author because I don't really delve too much into romance except for some of the small crushes that my main character Sophie has in her class. So this is really going to be fun. And Ronni also recently took a trip to Paris. And I loved all the beautiful pictures she shared on her Instagram account. And I want to ask her some questions about that. So we'll wait for her to come on, and that it's going to be a great day. And I see some of you joining me now. Thank you for coming in and supporting the show. It's really nice to see you. And I'm happy today because Ronni is actually my first young adult author. The other authors that I've had on the show to date have been primarily picture book authors, and then we've had middle grade too. So this will be a change of pace for us too, having a young adult author. And while we're waiting for her to come on, if you have any questions, just pose them. And I'm going to go ahead and invite her to. Oh, she's here. So let me send her invitation. Ronni, I see you there. I sent you the invitation. Let's see what's that. Okay. Hey, there you are. How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
Pretty good. It's good to sit down with you one-on-one. We were in an Amplify Black Stories group together, but we really didn't get to talk because it's all on Zoom.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you were one of the more vocal ones in our group, giving a lot of good information. So it was nice to have you in the group.
I have feelings. I always have about publishing.
Yeah, I mean, but that's good. It's good to have a space for authors to talk to each other because we're all kind of isolated and on our own a lot. So I really loved, even though we weren't together, it was just good to see other people doing things that I'm doing and hearing all of their comments. So it was great. But I was telling everybody that love is in the air today because we have our first YA author on the show and the first author who's written about romance on the show. So I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and a little bit about your books?
Okay. Yeah. I live in Chicago, and it is very cold today. When I this morning, it was -4 out, so that's
Oh
fine.
my Lord. I'm in Houston and it's 40 and I'm thinking that's cold. We're shivering at 40 degrees.
At 40 would feel really good right now. Outside anyway. I'm not going out there. I'll just we do have sun though, that's good. But yeah, I live in Chicago, grew up in Ohio,
Mm.
Ohio State University, and I have 2 kitty cats, a son, I'm married, and yeah, I love Disney World, stationery, stickers.
You
And
seem really girly to me. You seem like that kind of Hello Kitty vibe when I
I
looked at your page.
just ordered some Hello Kitty headphones and I'm hoping they get here soon.
Yeah. Now tell us about your book. What is the book? I know you're working on one. Your book's Hawaiian Romance. It's so beautiful. Hold it up more. I want to see it. Yeah. That's so pretty. Now tell us a little bit about the story and what's going on.
So this book is actually not a romance, but it is a love story. So there's like
Oh,
a
okay.
difference. But it's about this girl who was this aspiring astrophysicist, is an aspiring astrophysicist, and she's very um, focused on school and stuff. But of course, a boy comes along and kind of breaks that focus for a whole summer. Then he disappears at the end of the summer. Um, the story picks up again a year later after she's like, I'm over him. I'm going to focus on my studies and get myself back together. First day of her senior year. But guess who shows up at her school?
Oh, yes. I
um,
love that. Yeah.
the story kind of goes with them figuring out how to fit in each other's lives again and all the, the reasons why he disappeared and things like that. So
Well, that's good. And I know you're working on a new book. Is it connected to this one, or is it a different storyline with different characters?
Different storyline, different characters, but in the same world, sort of. So the people in When the Stars Lead to You, um, Devin herself is like upper middle class, but she's attending this private school, so she's in this world of wealth and privilege. Whereas the one I'm working on now is more like, I guess, like the normal people. So it's like they live like in apartments and they're more working class, and they,
Mm.
you know, they have bus places and stuff like that. So
That sounds cool. I haven't read your book yet, but I gotta get it. I like a lot of these cute little YA love stories like that. I love books like that. So I've got to get your book.
and
Yeah.
the one a romance as well. So, and she's working on, it's called This Night Is Ours. And it's just about this girl trying to figure out how she matters in the world, not for how what she can do for other people, but how she matters for herself and for the sake of being herself.
That's cool. And your books remind me, I like to watch a lot of these little Netflix love stories, romance. So they seem along that vein. So that would be great if they're made into movies.
Netflix, if you're watching this, please.
Yeah, I want to watch it. I'll be part of the audience. So, hey, we got to get that going on. Now, what led you to write the love stories? What attracted you to that genre?
I've always been the type of person who is after the love stories in books and TV shows, movies. Like if there's a romance, and especially if it's an interracial romance, I'm like,
Yeah, that's cool.
um, I wanted to write about a girl who had like my complexion and like sort of my hair who gets the love story, because I don't really see that in media. Um, at least I never felt represented as someone who is all black but looks biracial. And I'm like, hmm. I mean, but I mean, the characters I write about are biracial, but like I've never seen that. Like if I see like a black woman on TV, well, I don't know. It's weird now. Now I'm seeing more where they are like my skin tone, which is
Right.
weird. They always put like people who are really light with like dark men, and we hardly ever see dark dark women with light men or dark women with dark men. And I'm like, hey, can y'all like show more realistic and more diverse kinds of couples? But I mean, I don't want to write that story because that's not my experience. And I don't want to take the place of someone who can write more genuinely from that space.
Mhm.
So I like to write these love stories where it's like little black girls or little biracial girls, not little teenagers, who get to find love without it being this like punitive or like something terrible has to happen because you know she made a bad decision or something happened to her. Like I just wanted to be like a straight up love story, and also I wanted to write a story that was just these girls trying to figure out where they fit in the world and where like trying to get scholarships to colleges and going to the dance instead of like writing all these books or reading all these books about oppression or, you know, slavery and civil rights and things like that. Like I wanted just like what I was reading all these stories about all the white girls got. And I was like, well,
Right.
to write stories like this. Like why can't we have stories about girls who are just like, I want to go to the prom. I need to find a date. Or I want to go to college. What do I have to do to get there?
Huh, that's really cool. And that's very needed, you know, now that you're mentioning this, because you want, and that's will get a lot of more kids reading too, because they will see themselves in these books.
Yeah, I mean I've talked to authors, you know, I mean, and I don't discount like the authors who do write those stories because I mean, obviously those experiences are valid and should be represented as well. But I definitely felt a disconnect because that wasn't my experience, and a lot of authors say that wasn't their experience. It's like some of them grew up like in the suburbs and horseback riding and stuff like that, but we
Right.
the longest time we weren't seeing those stories with us.
Right, and that's true. And there, a lot of kids don't even relate to the stories of oppression at all, but
Hmm.
they're still very much needed. But yeah, this is great that you're providing this, and it again would be great for a movie because that is not seen in a lot of these stories that we see as well. Now, when you are writing, do you see yourself writing outside this genre, or do you think you're going to stick with this? Or
I'll probably stick with this genre. One of my good friends writes fantasy, and she was just talking to me about like the world building that she does. And I was just like, I mean,
right,
world building in like the contemporary sense where most of the rules of like gravity and money and stuff still work. Like all that's established. So all I have to do is build my character's world. Like outside of that, like the fantasy writers and the sci-fi writers, like they're building like everything from the ground up. And my brain is like, mm-mm, you can't do that. I mean, I probably could if I had time to like sit down and really luxuriate in it. Is that the word?
right.
Luxur?
And
But
I find myself, I don't really like, I do like Star Wars, which I watched it as an adult with my son, but I didn't really watch it growing up. But I like the romance or the realistic fiction that I write. That's what I like. So that's what I write.
I actually do like sci-fi, but I didn't start liking it until I found some that had like a love story
Oh, yeah.
within like Doctor Who. Like people just like, you gotta watch Doctor Who, you gotta watch Doctor Who. I didn't get vested in it until like a love story started to bloom, and I was like, okay, now.
Ah,
Yes.
yeah, I've
But
never seen that. I've never seen that. Now, you recently, speaking of love again, you took a trip to Paris
I
recently, and I was loving all the content on your page. Now, how was that, and would that inspire? You think that may inspire any future stories?
Oh, I would love to. Oh, wow. One of my favorite books is Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. And that book is set in Paris. And it was really cool to go to Paris and be like, hey, I think that's where Anna went. And this is where I would love to set a story there. But I
Ah,
mean, spend more time there to like really get the feeling. Oh
right.
darn. Such a sacrifice.
Yeah, you got doggone it. Got to take some research to Paris. Oh man.
But Pearson research, oh, so hard. But yeah,
Yeah.
I waited there. I mean, and it really did feel like a romantic city. I was there with one of my best friends, but it was just like watching like all the couples, like all ages, just like gazing at each other lovingly and like especially the old couples holding hands. They were so cute.
Oh.
And so, and it's just a beautiful city. It reminds me a lot of Chicago as far as just the way it is, like with people out and all the places you can walk and like all the ways you can get around and like it being a destination city as well.
Mm.
But it's I think it's just so much prettier. Like the architecture is so much more beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. The Eiffel Tower and the Seine and all that. It's so
I
nice.
I cried when I saw the Eiffel Tower. Mm,
Oh.
there it is.
Yeah,
There. Yeah,
that's nice.
I, I had to walk up to like hundreds of meters inside of it, but that was a different kind of crime.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when is your new book coming out? I know you've posted you've been really working a lot on that and kind of hold yourself up to get finished with that. When is that slated to come out?
Summer 2023. There's no official date yet. So sometime next year, next summer, next
Oh.
summer after this summer.
And how does that work with the book? Like, how did you get commissioned to write this, or what happens with that?
This book, I after I turned in When the Stars Lead to You, I worked on a proposal for this. So I worked on like a synopsis, which was like I think it was 5 pages of like a big picture of what I wanted to happen, and and then we just had them look at that, and they said, hey, we like this. We'll offer on this one too.
Yeah.
Changing completely from what I turned in though. So that's been an nerve-wracking experience.
But that's still good. That's just such a blessing that you're doing what you want to do. And what was your career path before this? Have you always written, or how did you become a writer?
I've been writing since I was 11,
Oh, okay.
11 years old. This is my, I call it like my side gig for now, just because I do have a day job that I have to work to uh, keep, like health insurance.
Right, right.
Um,
Don't we all?
and I also do a lot of freelance on the side just because I have expensive taste.
Yeah, you seem so girly. You love all the little girly girl things.
I really do. My office is pink. Um, I love toys. I like toys and technology. I love computers and all that stuff.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So next you need to go to like Japan or something. Or is that where they have Hello Kitty firm? I don't know.
I think I would. Yeah, I'm scared to go to Japan because I think that I would just stimulate their economy for the next.
I know, I know. Yeah. So after you finish this book, I guess you kind of just see where things go with that, or where the inspiration leads you as far as other projects.
I have like a couple other projects I want to work on. I want to get this one, like I want to get This Night Is Ours just settled and like more solid feeling before I jump into something else. Because one of the things, and I know you know this too, being an author, is that when you get into the hard part of what you're working on now, your brain is like, well, why don't you work on this instead?
Yeah, yeah.
Because this,
Right, you're right. That is so true. And then because I was stuck on a project, now I'm so happy I'm almost done. I'm like flowing with it. But you're
yeah,
right. And then your mind is like, squirrel, squirrel. Let's
yeah,
do this, do that. No. Yeah.
that's what's happening. And I'm like, no, you have to sit here until let me finish this, okay? Let me.
Right.
I'm just learning so much new stuff. I never was an outliner before, and I'm thinking I need to get on that and like really. So I'm working with a really good friend of mine, um, an author. Her name is JL. Works. She wrote Wings of Ebony,
Mm.
Ashes of Gold, which just came out, and she is just like kind of blowing my mind and like kind of helping me figure out a better way.
Right. To plot it. So I guess it makes it easier as you're going along your story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But like I have like a better roadmap of where I need to go and and why I need to go there to get to what the character wants and to get the character to what she wants and things like that. So
Right. Now, can you tell, we have a lot of aspiring authors that tune in. Can you give them some tips or suggestions to help their career, or things you would recommend people who want to write do?
um the best thing to do is write, which can be hard. And also if it's hard to write, um feel that creative well. So I fill my creative well, usually with something that doesn't have anything to do with me, with writing reading. So I'll listen to music that's inspiring, or I will sometimes I'll like watch a show that's really familiar to me, or I'll watch a TV show that I really love, or a movie I really love, and I'll say, what about this is keeping me engaged?
Mhm.
And also there's some shows that I watch and I'm like, I want to write something that makes me feel like how this show makes me feel. So like being inspired by that, people watching, which, do too much of that because, we're in a panorama. Um like I used to love, especially to get the teenagers, just like go to the library and go in the teen room and like browse for books, but listen to what they're doing, especially if you want to write for young adults. Like, listen to how they relate to each other and watch how they relate to each other and things like that. I go into live streams, like people stream video games, like watching them stream
Oh,
how they act and how people react to them. There, TikTok, which is kind of a heightened sense of it, I think, but like just seeing how like what they're into and what they like and trying
right.
to not like be like I'm cool because I do this, but just being like, okay, I can understand you and I can hopefully represent you in a way that's fair to you and that's realistic and that is not like what like that doesn't come off as a very special episode or something like that, but like real and universal.
Right, right. Well, yeah, that's really an interesting take and great suggestions on people watching. And so you're kind of immersing yourself in that world
Mhm.
so that you can really just convey it in the writing.
Yeah, yeah, trying to. And
Mhm.
I relate well with teenagers. I always have, as an like, and just knowing that teenagers can, a lot of them, when they open up to adults, it's very, they're very picky and very discerning about who they open up to and
Mhm.
be like one of those people that some of them trust to come to me with that. Like I want to make sure that I'm being, I mean, it's an honor for me, and
Oh,
I want to make sure that I live up to that trust that they give me.
okay. Now, someone put in the comments, they asked for tips on marketing books.
I see.
Yeah.
Um, that is interesting. I think it depends on of which route you're going. Like if you're doing indie or if you're doing traditional. So when at least under my thing, with my experience as a traditional publisher, as a traditionally published author, it is, I do what I can, but there's only so much I can do because I'm only me. And
Right.
um, social media, you just never know what social media is going to do. So like sometimes Instagram's like, here, let's show Ronni to everybody. And some days it's like, yeah, we're going to just not show her to anybody. So it's
Yeah.
like, can't count on that. So, like the best thing is hoping that your publisher is going to have a push for you,
Mhm.
uh, and not everyone's going to get like the huge marketing like the in caps and all that stuff, but what you can do yourself is just this is stuff I learned in Amplify Black Stories in our cohort. um, get into the communities, like get into your communities. I go out and I approach like the indie bookstores around me, or I go to the library and I'm like, I'm a local author. Here's a bookmark about my book
Right.
and stuff like that. So I feel like there's not a whole lot that I can do to move the needle as far as marketing goes, but I do what I can and like talk to the people I can talk to and talk about it on social media and like not in a, oh, I'm pushing my book at you all the time, but more of a, look what I did. I'm proud of this. If you want to support me. And also I'll do silly stuff like Black Friday. You know how those Black Friday emails come out and they're all like, oh, 2 hours left for Doorbusters. So I'll like that. Like, you can get my book, Doorbuster.
Now, Ronni, you talked about juggling a day job plus the writing. Can you give people tips on how to manage the time and complete their writing projects if they have a dream to finish their books?
You had to, I'm still working on that myself. So take my advice with a grain of salt. It depends on what you are, depends on your priorities and what you juggle. Um, Luckily, I get to work from home, so I don't have a commute. So shut the work computer and turn straight over to my desktop. And then I give my, yeah, I see like, how do I have the brain space? I don't sometimes. So, but I sometimes I'll just give myself a goal, like, oh, you know what? I want to play The Sims tonight, but let me at least get 500 words down, and then The Sims can be my reward.
Oh.
By the time I get those 500 words down, I get kind of into a flow, and then I can usually get up to like 1,000 or 1,500 words that night, and then I can say, okay, now I've done this, I can go play The Sims. Like juggling that with like freelance, that sometimes that's harder. But the thing about freelance is that most of the time they ask, are you available to take this? And then I can like look in my calendar and say no if I really need to turn it down, or have a lot of people in my
Mm-hmm.
world that I can say, I can't work on this, but I can suggest this other person to work on it for you. Brain space. Again, like taking away the storytelling, doing it in a different way. So playing The Sims not only helps me like decompress, but it also is a way that I can tell stories with no pressure. And that kind of opens up um, the brain to like.
And what is The Sims? Is that like Roblox or something? You see, I don't know what it's a video game, right?
Video game, yeah, it's a computer game where it's like if you ever played with Barbies or doll houses when you were younger, it's basically that, but in a computer. So like you can build houses for them, you can make people and dress them up, and then you throw them in, let them put them in all kinds of situations. Like they can burn their house down because they can't cook, or they can become a master chef or anything like that, and they can like get married and have kids and all
Oh.
that. So
So
much fun.
that's kind of making a story in itself. So you're doing other storytelling.
Yeah, it's a virtual game. Yeah, yeah, they do. They get pregnant and everything.
I
Yeah,
need to look at that. Okay.
it's me. It's just such a good way to tell stories, because you really can't control what they do. You can try, but a sim is gonna sim. So you can, but you can still like tell these stories of these like little computer people lives. And
That sounds fun. Okay, I've seen that and never have played it. So you see, that's good you're writing for the teens because you know what's going on. I know. Now, can you tell people where they can find your books? Where can they get your books?
I don't go into bookstores because I haven't been in a bookstore in a while because I'm scared I'm gonna look on the shelf and it won't be there. So, but um, I have people do send me pictures of it in like local bookstores. I know is at some of the indie bookstores in the Chicago area. I know that you can get it on the Big Bad A. Bookshop.org is wonderful place for like, because bookshop.org, you order books online, and it supports indie stores, like indie stores that you choose. So I have it like supporting my favorite indies around Chicago. So libraries, I know it's all over in Ohio. It got chosen to be an Ohio Choose to Read book for
Oh,
2022. So it's like in all their libraries and a lot of their bookstores all over Ohio too. So
oh, that's cool. Congratulations. Yeah.
yeah, that was an honor to get that.
Now, any parting advice for the people out here watching who want to write?
Basically, it can be scary, but that's okay. Just go with that scariness. Thank you for the congratulations. Go with that scary. Go with that that fear, and just write and allow yourself. And I'm also giving this advice to myself too. Allow it to be bad. Allow it to not be perfect. Just get it out. You can always fix it later. So to be um allow it to be messy, allow it to be just real, and whatever it is, you just got to get down and start writing. There are a lot of websites that offer writing prompts that can help.
Mm-hmm.
So I know Writer's Digest has a lot of writing prompts, and it could be something as as simple as write about your favorite food, or it could be write write about your big dream, or write about what you think your best day ever would be. Like, I love to do that. Or write it. What, say you won like $25 million in a lottery. What would you do? Just stuff, just even if you never use it, it's just stuff just to get your brain into the writing. And I'm, yeah, definitely taking this advice for myself because I forget. And that's another thing, like you forget and you have to remind yourself these things over and over and over, and being okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And also knowing that everything you try to write is going to be different. So you might think that you had this figured out, and then the next project comes along and it's completely different. And you're just sitting there like, how do I book? How-
Yeah, it is. It's something. It's something. Well, I want to thank you so much, Ronni, for your time, for coming on and sharing these gems with us. And I love all these interviews. I go back and listen and get my pencil and take notes. And this is another one that I definitely will. But
this was so fun. I enjoyed this. I'm having a blast.
yes. And thank you all for tuning into the show. I see some familiar faces, some new ones. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of Write This. See you then.
Bye.
Bye.